Sang off key in my chorus, cause it wasn't yours. I saw the signs and I ignored it. Rose-colored glasses are distorted. Set fire to my purpose, and I let it burn. You got off in the hurting when it wasn't yours. Yeah, we'd always go into it blindly. I needed to lose you to find me. This dancer was killing me softly. I needed to hate you to love me, yeah. To love, love, yeah. To love, love, yeah. To love you. I needed to lose you to love me, yeah. To love, love, yeah. To love, love, yeah. To love you. I needed to lose you to love me. I gave my all and they all know it. You turned me down and now it's showing. And 2 months you replaced us like it was easy. Made me think I deserved it in the thick of healing. Yeah, we'd always go into it blindly. I needed to lose you to find me. This dancer was killing me softly. I needed to hate you to love me, yeah. To love, love, yeah. To love, love, yeah. To love you. I needed to lose you to love me, yeah. To love, love, yeah. To love, love, yeah. To love you. I needed to lose you to love me. You promised the world and I fell for it. I put you first and you adored it. Set fires to my forest and you let it burn. Sang off key in my chorus. To love, love, yeah. To love, love, yeah. To love you. I needed to hate you to love me, yeah. To love, love, yeah. To love, love, yeah. To love you. I needed to lose you to love me. To love, love, yeah. To love, love, yeah. To love you. And now the chapter is closed and done. To love, love, yeah. To love, love, yeah. To love you. And now it's goodbye for us.
Hello, everybody. Wait,
Hello, hello.
hello, hello. Good morning and afternoon
Good
for some
morning.
people.
I made it.
You made it. Look at that. Got a green shirt. You ready to be green screened and replace the Grand Canyon or something?
That would be funny. My head's
Yeah.
a Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Let me see. Hold on, I'm just checking posts here. Sweet. How's everybody doing today? Anything fun or noteworthy? Or
Well,
sad?
I was having some fun. I was trying to get this song. I've got a rough draft of my song, and I was going to upload it, but with my new computer, I haven't
Right.
got everything worked out, so I hadn't got it uploaded yet.
All right. Yeah. How are you feeling about that new computer? Is it basically put together?
Oh yeah, it's everything's in pretty good shape. It's and of course it seems like it's about 10 times faster than my old computer. When I pulled up Ableton Live in the old one, I'd have to wait about, I don't know, 10 or 15 or 20 seconds for it to load up, and this thing loads it up right away. So it's
That's
great. And then I updated, it wouldn't work with the Melodyne 4 version I had.
Right.
So I contacted Celemony, and they said, well, there's 2 or 3 CPUs that it does not work with. But fortunately, and if yours is one of these, you can check it. And it turns out mine was one of the CPUs it 4 doesn't work with. But the guy says, but you're eligible for a free upgrade to 5. So,
Oh,
and it works with 5, and I updated it. But anyway, I went to Melodyne my song today, and I couldn't. The settings are different than the old Melodyne, and so anyway, I'm a little bit frazzled.
I hear you. I hear you. I wonder if this whole like CPU like incompatibility with some things is seems like it's like a real issue. I know that Apple just announced that they're going to be making their own computer chips instead of using Intel's or whoever they were using before. And yeah, I haven't really read up on it or anything yet, but there was a little bit of talk about whether that was going to mess things up for other programs, which I'm sure it will. But my main comment on that, Kenneth, was there. Shoot, who was it? There was somebody that posted kind of about another similar like CPU. Oh, they were trying to use a Mac Mini, and they were running into running into like processor CPU issues, kind of like what you were talking about. And I wonder, whoever, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting their name right now. I see their face, but yeah, if she's watching this replay,
yeah,
maybe,
I read that one on the post too. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So maybe, yeah, maybe those things are related. That's all I have to say about that.
In the words of my new song, it's a good day to have a good day.
There you go. Nice. Caroline was asking, yes, Caroline, I am completely obsessed with that song right now. It is by Selena Gomez, and it's called "Lose You to Love Me." That's the song that I was playing at the beginning of the call today. And yeah, it's written by like a group of songwriters who've written a bunch of other hits together. And then I recently saw, like, I was looking up the lyrics to this song, and I saw that Phineas from Billie Eilish was credited as a producer on it, which kind of makes sense because it's got like that minimal, you know, low end focus production sound to it. So, you know, just, yeah, another A-lister credit to add to an amazing song. Yeah, but the man, I'm actually mentoring like another songwriter through this independent music publishers organization, and these calls that I've been having with her, we spent like a whole call just like on this song, going through like the lyrics and how unique their rhyme schemes are, and like the melodic phrasing isn't like just a standard like ABA or AABB. It's a very like kind of broken up. Yeah, it's really interesting to analyze and figure out like why something that's not typical still like catches our ear and doesn't lose us, you know, like when things like kind of break rules, which this one does a little bit. It's still, it's a fine line between like breaking rules and like losing the thread of like what makes it hooky and catchy, and like breaking the rules and making it so that it catches our ear and makes us pay attention, you know, kind of like brings us closer to it. Yeah, I'm obsessed with that kind of stuff. All right, let's dig into, I'm seeing who's on the call. We got Mark, we got Greg. Those are people that submitted songs for review. Let's dig into Mark's song first. Hold on. I need to stop this share and do another share. Yeah, I would love to. Caroline was asking, can you analyze that song with us sometime? Yeah, let me think how maybe I could do like a bonus kind of Zoom call or something like that, where we could just like nerd out on that song for a while.
Yeah, we like bonuses.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let me get the share screen. Hold on. Sorry, guys. If I have the wrong browser tab open, it doesn't, and then I switch it after I've like opened up the share screen thing, it doesn't like that, and then I have to go back to my browser tab and close it all out again. All right, here we go. Sweet. Okay, I'm gonna refresh this, so it'll start at the beginning. So this is Rock With You, an original by Mark Stone, not a cover at all by Michael Jackson. Ha 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 ha. All right, let's listen to this.
Girl, close your eyes. Let the rhythm get into you. Don't try to fight it. There's nothing that you can do. Relax your mind. Lay back and groove with mine. You gotta feel that heat. And we can find boogie. Share that big love. I wanna rock with you. Rock all night. Dance with you in the sunlight. I wanna rock with you. Rock all night. Rock the night away. Out on the floor. There ain't nobody here but us. Girl, when you dance, there's a magic that must be love. To take it slow, we got so far to go. You gotta feel that heat, and we can find the boogie. Share that big love. I'm gonna rock with you. Rock all night. Dance with you in the sunlight. I wanna rock with you. Rock all night. Rock the night away. And when the groove is dead and gone, you don't have to close your eyes, and we can rock forever. Rock with you all night. Dance with you in the sunlight. I wanna rock with you all night. Rock the night away. Rock with you all night. Dance with you in the sunlight. I wanna rock with you all night. Rock the night away.
All right, nice job, Mark. This is cool. Yeah. I wanted to comment on somebody else's comment. Hold on. Oh, Mark was saying I turn on my video, but it freezes my internet. Yeah. Yeah. Don's comment about maybe you could have Phineas come on and share his screen. Yeah, I'll call him up. I'll just I'll hit him up on Instagram. Okay. So Mark, this is cool. So a couple of things. And as usual, there's a bunch of cool things I could talk about that you did, but I'm just going to jump right on the things that are going to be helpful, right? I think that one of the things is that it sounds like you've got a guitar that's kind of mainly panned right, and there's really not much on the left side. It feels like it's just like the hi-hat of the drums happening over there. So I would, if you haven't already doubled your guitar, I would double that guitar and pan it over to the left side so that it's a little bit bigger sounding. Right now it sounds like you've almost got it mixed as if it was like AC/DC on a stage, where you've just got like the one bass player, the one drummer, and the one guitar player, and they're like, you know, that guitar player happens to be standing on the right side. I feel like this song needs to be more full spectrum. So I would spread out those guitars or double it. The other thing with the guitars is the guitars sound like, or maybe it's the entire song sounds like it's very mid-rangey. You've left a lot of room for the drums, the kick drum, and the bass guitar isn't sounding very warm and filling out a lot of the low end. I I know that you're probably trying to be careful of, not making your mix muddy and having that kick drum be punchy and stuff. I would play around with, I don't know how much of the low end of that bass guitar you've rolled off, but I would see about work on that relationship between the bass guitar and the kick drum a little bit more. See if you can still have that bass guitar fill out more of the low end of the mix, and maybe side chain it so that every time the kick drum hits, it ducks the bass guitar just a little bit, so you still get the punch of the kick drum, but you're not having to like sacrifice the entire bass guitar for the entire song just so you can get that punch of the kick drum. I think that would be a huge thing. And it might, depending, like if you can really get your bass guitar to really sound full, it might make your guitars sound less mid-rangey and kind of alone in the mix. Yeah, because sometimes those types of guitars where you've kind of carved out a lot of the lows of the guitars, they will work well when the bass guitar is kind of like taking responsibility for more of the low end. So I would play with that. The other thing, this is kind of like a fun creative thing that I had an idea about. I really like in your choruses. Let me see if I can find a chorus. All right. Your chorus. Hello, chorus.
Lay back and groove with mine. You gotta feel that hit. And we can ride boogie. Share that midnight. I wanna rock with you. Rock all night.
Okay, I really love those rock shouts. They're very like kind of Twisted Sister or whoever, those kind of like, I don't know, just it has that like kind of like 80s like hairband vibe. Yeah, Mark gets it. So what I would suggest though is you've got two rocks in there, right? The very first like rock with you. I would make the first rock sound like it's the band on stage all yelling rock. And then the second rock is the crowd responding, and you make that sound wider and bigger. So you've got more of like still like a gang vocal that's kind of like focused in the middle, and then the response would be like a bigger like arena, 10,000 people. So what I'm saying is go find 10,000 people and get them to all yell rock and make sure that the recorder's on. So just get that done and then come back and let me hear it.
And make sure they all have masks on.
Yes, please. Yep. It's probably going to be a pain to EQ, and it's all going to sound like rock. But yeah. Let me see here. I had one other. Let me see. I had notes that I was making earlier. I think that the second vocal harmonies and performance, whatever is going on there, the second pre-chorus sounds tighter than the first. The first pre-chorus sounds like there's some vocal dissonance happening. So I would go and kind of maybe compare those two. You might even just copy and paste the vocals from the second pre-chorus and just paste them into the first one. I do that sometimes. Let me see. Yeah, and then the last thing I had was just the chorus harmonies or the chorus vocals. They don't sound as tight as they could be. I feel like there's some weird harmony notes happening there. So I would solo those vocals and see where the clashing's happening. Because it's weird. Like, you can have shouts where it doesn't really matter what note they're shouting at, but when the notes are kind of like held out like that and you're trying to like harmonize, then it becomes dissonant in an unpleasant way. So you got to watch out for that. Yeah, I think that's it for this one. Just gonna check in the comments, see if anybody else had anything. Someone was asking, to double the guitar, would you merely duplicate the track and then pan it, or do you use a different guitar sound? Or would you, Oh yeah. So Don, so he's asking, would you just duplicate the single guitar and then just apply a different like amp modulator or simulator? What am I looking for? There's another word for it. Another like amp effect to that. Or would you record a new take? I always say record a new take. But there have been times where I'll just like duplicate a track and put like a different different amp effect on that, and that can sometimes get me close enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard sometimes you can duplicate it and then put a different amp effect on it and then maybe delay it, move the whole track back by a couple milliseconds, and then just broadens the sound.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those are it's really about the there's pros and cons to each one. Like if you've got like a really solid guitar track and it's just like as good as it possibly can be, and you really just don't want to take away from that, by doing a second track and maybe having rhythmic inconsistencies between the two, then maybe duplicating that track and doing that thing where you've got kind of two kind of drastically different amp sounds happening, that might be the way to go. If you were going for like a more like kind of garage rock, more raw, like White Stripes thing where things are looser and that's kind of like part of the sound, then maybe duplicating that one guitar might not be enough. It might sound thicker, but in terms of like thickening up the entire performance, it might not get you there. It might end up sounding more chorusy than, yeah.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, let's if there's nothing else, let's move over to Greg's here. Hold on, I'm gonna read Greg's notes. Hold on. So he says this is number 5 for the 100 Groove Challenge. Where should I go with this? Thinking maybe as a cue. I was trying to make the drums sound more like an actual drummer than a machine. Didn't use loops. I drew in the beats. For a cue, would there necessarily need to be a B section for this? Okay, so no, for a cue, you kind of want the same vibe throughout. That's kind of like a big note that I got early on, is that they're really going after, when they're looking for cues, generally they want one kind of emotional tone. And if they're going to drastically change the tone, like if it's sweet up until like a big car accident and then everybody dies, like they'll just use a different cue. They're not going to expect you to have magically written a cue that sounds sweet and heartwarming and then all of a sudden turn into like, a funeral march. Like they would just use 2 different ones. So they would rather have one that kind of still has dynamics and feels interesting throughout, but don't necessarily do drastic B sections that change the tone. Okay, let's listen to this. Nice. You know, Greg, one thing I like about the stuff that I've heard from you
Yep.
is that you do a really good job of writing things that I can immediately like emotionally connect with in a very specific way. Like I feel like sometimes like people will just like kind of it seems like in their compositions they'll just kind of like randomly choose chords and not really think about like are these chords supporting like a specific kind of emotional message, you know? And I feel like you somehow like that seems to be like a focus in the way that you write. And I like that. I think it's going to serve you well if you are interested in sync. That's gonna do well for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of like the production mix
Yeah.
and yeah, and stuff like that, I think okay, so a couple of things. I think overall this sounds like a good like bed, like a good starting spot. But
Right.
I think there needs to be some other point of interest, some other like either melody, and I wouldn't go like too like if they're going to use an instrumental cue, there's going to be voiceover. So you don't want your melody to be like too like rangy and all over the place and interfering with anybody that's trying to talk over it. So you want your melody to be more subtle but still interesting. I feel like the only thing that you started to do like in terms of like development of this, you right around like right there, there's like a big long distorted guitar chord that like starts to fill it out a little bit more.
Right.
But after that, I'm not hearing much more like dynamic build or
Yeah, I was mainly using I was trying to work on my drum programming.
Yeah.
To kind of build momentum.
Mhm. Yeah.
Kind of have it build that way. Yeah, I was gonna figure out like another element for like melody.
Yeah, cool.
Not really piano. I don't know about acoustic piano, or I don't know what else I would use for that.
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, I thought piano might make it kind of sound a little too like Christian pop rock kind of thing. Yeah, you don't want to go. I mean, maybe you do, but
No,
I would go someplace else with it. You might want to think, I don't know, like an interesting organ or like mellotron. Mellotron could be kind of cool.
Mellotron. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Maybe even I'm really into there's a couple of instruments from native instruments. Actually, let me see if I can pull it up and I can be more specific. Hold on. Contact.
Okay. Is it part of the complete 10? I believe?
No, these are little add-ons. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Please close after sample rate change. Okay, whatever. Let me see. I'm gonna stop this. Let's see if I can share it again. Contact. There we go. I love this because I can open up Contact without having to open up Pro Tools and put it in as a plugin. Yeah,
Right.
that's nice. I would look at hold on. Where's it at? Where's it? Oh, of course, down here at the bottom. This one, Analog Dreams, Hybrid Keys, and Lo-Fi Glow are three that
Never heard of those.
yeah, they're like extra little. I don't even know how much they cost. They have like sales on them where they'll like do them for like $50 or something like that. And they're kind of like you know, like the Hybrid Keys is like piano blended with something else that makes it not just sound like a piano, right? And then Lo-Fi Glow is it's like really weird samples that are made to sound like they were from a cassette tape, and that actually might not fit as well. Like that, I don't know. You could
Yeah.
those or check them out and see.
Yeah. I'll investigate.
Um. Okay. So the other thing. Let me close out of this. And then go back to share the other screen. Okay. All right. So the drums. I want to say a couple of things about the drum tone that you've got, and I actually have a note to talk about like virtual instrument drums as a whole, because I think Caroline had a post about that in the group.
I use addictive drums.
Yeah, these don't sound bad. They still sound like virtual instruments to me. And one of the kind of big giveaways is the snare sounds. Like if we listen to the snare on this. Listen to how consistent that snare drum sound is. All right, I'm gonna play it one more time, but just listen to how like listen for how much variation there is between each one of those, like ga ga ga, right? There's not a lot of variation, right? Like yeah, and this is something that like, you know, I went to LA Music Academy for drums, like, and the big like kind of like push is like, if you're gonna be a studio drummer, you want to be as consistent as possible. You want to hit that snare the exact same way every single time, so that the engineer can set the compressor and it doesn't, you know, if you're hitting soft and then hard, it's gonna not be consistently hitting with that compressor, and you want it to be a consistent sound.
Right.
No drummer can hit that consistent. Right? There's always going to be like, you're going to try to hit that center of the snare every single time, but you're going to miss it by half an inch, and it really does change the sound. Yeah. So, and this is like the thing, like, you know, what I wanted to talk about with Caroline asking about like virtual instruments and stuff like that. I feel like that's the big thing. Like I want to say like that they're a great virtual instrument for drums and guitar and stuff like that, but it's always the consistency that they get wrong. It's always that they're way too consistent and it's way too perfect every single time. And I want to hear things where, like, you know, in this drum performance where the drummer doesn't quite hit it right and it adds a little bit of character, you know?
Like I think it's got like different hits.
Yeah? Then maybe All right, so it's not necessarily about like just to be clear, it's not necessarily about like, sorry, hold on, something's popping up on me, about like different snares, but it's gonna be about like, I don't know, like if there's a setting of velocity variation is kind of like what I would look for. If there's a setting in there that says like, how consistent do you want this velocity to be on every single snare hit, that would be the function that I would look at. And you would set it to be like not 100%. I don't want this to be the exact same every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say that these drums sound like a legit 80s pop drum sound. Like they sound like a Tears for Fears or or something like that, like where they did like the gated reverb a little bit. Like it almost sounds like I don't know if there's a reverb on that snare, or if it's just the room mics that they're doing, but it almost sounds like they're gated a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and it sounds cool, and I think that you could actually like not change a thing with this drum track and lean into that. Actually, let me just pull up what I'm talking about here. Let me just pull up like a Tears for Fears. Tears for Fears. Just so you can kind of hear what I'm talking about. Let's see. Can you guys hear that? Or do I need to share? Yeah, you're okay. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear it.
So do you guys hear that snare? How that reverb sounds exactly the same every single time, right? That snare drum sounds like it's like a sample, but it's actually, it's still got like a real drummer. Like you can hear it on the hi-hat that there's kind of like a real shuffle happening, or at least that's, I'm pretty sure it was like real. Yeah, so when you go and like hear that snare sound in particular, right? And then you go over to yours. Yours sounds a little bit more real, you know, but I think that you could, the consistency of the sound almost sounds like 80s like that. And I think you could lean into that and use it to your advantage. Instead of like trying to fool a drummer and make it sound like a real drum set, like recorded in a room, like kind of in a natural way, you know? I feel like, yeah, I feel like sometimes with these things we have to lean into almost like take advantage of the weaknesses and really lean into those and then make that our strength, you know? Yeah. Yeah. And the cool thing is that like that kind of like 80s sound is like cool right now, you know, if you really went, you know, did that kind of thing. Okay, the last thing I'm going to say is your drum fills. I think they need to be simplified and they need to have a theme to them, especially in instrumental cues where kind of all those things are being paid attention to. If you had a singer over this, you know, 80% of the listeners are going to be focusing on the vocals, and if the drummer did some kind of wonky drum fill, then you know it might get buried over the cool vocal hook that's happening.
Right.
So what I mean by that, you went like pretty ambitious on some of these drum fills. Like that one was like, if I was the drummer on that gig, they would have been like, dude, calm down. You don't need to use all the drums in all of your drum fills. Pick like a couple. So here's, let me show you what I mean. This is like another song that I recently kind of broke down drum wise for a student.
Okay.
Let me see. This song's really cool. I love this song. Academia by Sia. It's like an older one of hers.
I like that one, yeah.
Yeah. The lyrics are, I think they're so cool.
You can be my alphabet and I will be your calculator, and together we'll work out on the escalator. I will time you as you run up the down, and you'll measure my footsteps as I blow through this town. The mean of our heights is divided.
Okay, so that, when I'm talking about drum fills, I'm just gonna like pick a few and I'm gonna show you kind of what I mean, right? That drum fill starts on the and of 3. So it's going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E and. So 3 and 4 E and. Okay? So let's check out the next drum fill. That happens like right around 50 seconds or something like that. Here we go.
Just dissuade me in your knowing and the beauty of the word.
Okay, and that one just goes 4E and. Okay?
Yep.
So, hold on, let's go to the next one.
I am a dash, and you are the words when I need your love. I am a dash.
All right, and that one goes 4E a 1. Okay? So you kind of see that like all of these drum fills are just happening on the last, like either on the and of 3 or just the 4E and information, you know, the 4E and last little bit. There's no like kind of 2-beat fills, and they're all just like playing on variations of just 16th notes. He's not doing any triplets. He's not doing anything, right? He's just like set up these like simple little themes of 4E a 1 or and da, you know, and they're kind of like catchy in their simplicity,
Right.
you know. So and they're perfect for this song. Yeah, so I would try to do that. Set up like little here, you know what I would do? I would listen for yeah, I would do I feel like you've got like little cool rhythmic themes in there. Yeah, I would just simplify. I would just like kind of pick like a handful or just, you know, 2 or 3 and just see maybe even repeat the same rhythmic phrases, but just play around with how you voice them. Like,
Yeah, right.
you know, just
Yeah.
play around with that. That's exactly what I would do if I was a drummer on a gig. I would just pick a couple of themes, and it's almost like you're like just like how you come up with melodic hooks, like this is my verse melody, this is my chorus melody, this is my bridge melody,
Yeah.
and you have like, you know, maybe the little vocal melody leading into your chorus isn't the same every time, but it's kind of similar to the way that you did it on pre-chorus 1. You do the same thing as a drummer, where you're like, this is my verse drum fill, or the vibe that I'm going for in my verse. You know, you kind of like build up these little themes, so everything's got this. It kind of like has a logic to it, you know.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, I think that's it. I would just yeah, I would come up with like a melody for this, but overall I think I dig the tone of your guitars and what you've got so far. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I'll look into those VIs too. And, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I would spend some time not rushing into whatever instrument you choose for your melody, because like picking the right sound, the right instrument for that is going to kind of be key. Like you said, if you use a piano,
Yeah.
if you use a piano, it can make it sound too cheesy, and if you use the wrong thing, it could really kind of take this thing off the rails.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. I kind of ignored the chat here for a little while. Did I miss anything? Any questions? Oh, who was talking about? Oh yeah, Bill Ward. Yeah. Oh, Phil.
We're not making fun of drummers. Don't read
good.
it.
Good. Yeah, I'm just looking through your. Yes, Katie, I'm saying drummers aren't perfect. Don't say it to our face, though. All right. Do we have anything? Do we have anything else that we want to chat about? Oh, I've got a question for you guys. So on this kind of, I've been thinking about this this question of like the virtual drum, you know, virtual instruments for drums and stuff like that, and like kind of trying to figure out like how I can help, because I feel really it doesn't seem helpful to be like, I'm a drummer and all of the virtual instrument drum, all of the drum virtual instruments out there don't sound realistic to me. Good luck. You know, like I don't have any like yeah, it's difficult to like offer help with that. But I think that the big thing is kind of like something that I touched on with Greg's song is you can lean into what sounds you do have and really make it sound like you went that direction on purpose. You know, like I don't use real acoustic drums on every single song because sometimes they just don't sound right for that song. Like I need something, like if I was going for, you know, like a Tears for Fears type thing, I might play it on the drums, but I think I would replace all the drum sounds with samples and just do something like that. And just use the drum performance as a feel for it, but the sounds would all be replaced. So anyway, I was kind of thinking like about doing a video series, like almost teaching how to play drums, but more focusing on how drums are built and layered, and like kind of what I was talking about with Greg of like the philosophy of like why I would choose a certain drum fill and why I wouldn't play the hi-hat here, and you know why I might choose something else, why I might play like a kick and snare and then replace the hi-hat, you know, not play a hi-hat but play like a shaker instead. Like those kind of like philosophies, and like maybe that might help you guys be able to build your own beats no matter what sounds you're using, you know? Yeah.
I feel like you'll have to repeat yourself less.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I just keep on, every time someone asks me about drums, I just send them the link to the videos. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
All right, I'll do that. I've been kind of like hesitant to do that because that's not really like necessarily like teaching drums isn't what this course is about. It's like I'm not going to teach anybody how to play guitar. But I think like in the context of music production, like understanding how certain beats are built and why they're built that way could be useful. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, can I add, like I'm actually like afraid to put drums in things because it's the thing I know the least about.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So that would be really helpful.
I feel the same way about things. Like I am super hesitant to ever put horns on anything because I don't know how to play horns. I couldn't even get a sound out of one. Yeah, I think they're super cool, but yeah, I kind of have them up on this pedestal where, yeah, I'm scared of them too. Yeah. Did somebody, was it John had? Yeah, John, can you unmute yourself there? Oh, no, we're not hearing you again.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, it kept a window kept blocking me from hitting the thing.
Good.
Anyway, I've got two questions. I think it was last week or the week before, I don't remember. Somebody had a summer song, and it was, I think, a cover. But the title of the song it wasn't like Happy Summer. It was like, oh, I don't remember, like Strange Summer or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And the person that submitted that.
Cruel Summer.
What's that?
Cruel Summer.
That's what it was, yes. And was that you? Oh, okay. Well, anyway, and they had made the comment that given what's going on this summer, they didn't feel it was appropriate in the sense of, I suppose, marketable or fitting to have, it's a great summer and we're heading down to the beach.
Yeah.
And I've got a song that's really peppy and then, I mean, the lyrics of it really don't match what's going on unless you're totally irresponsible and don't really care. You know?
Right.
So, I mean, how is that? I'm listening to things now and it seems like there's no real happy, let's head down to the beach songs right now. Is that kind of what the philosophy is amongst supervisors? Like,
yeah,
let's not encourage crazy behavior.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely songs. I've got songs that I was in the middle of production on that I just stopped because I'm not going to be pitching them anytime soon. It's like one is like a kind of a like a heavier rock song. It's I don't know, like what's it called? It's called something like I Get What I Want or something like that. It's like one of those like kind of female pop punk kind of things. And like that's just like the wrong tone of like nobody's going to be using songs like that right now. And I feel like there's a bunch of others like overly optimistic songs are probably not going to be getting used a lot.
So if you were to submit something now, I mean, it could be that the thing sits until the situation improves if they like your song. I mean, it could be accepted. We like it, but it would just maybe be forgotten till maybe next summer. I mean, who knows? You know, I don't know whether to sit on something or just wait until things improve. You know, that's the other part of it.
Yeah, I've got a thought on it, but Katie's kind of deep,
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
we'll hear what she says.
Well, that's interesting because I've been sort of looking at that a lot too. And number one is, are music supervisors still working on stuff right now, or are they just kind of finishing up the projects they were already on? Like, I don't know if anything has even started filming again yet, or am I wrong? And I'm just like, need to be.
Yeah. So my neighbor, so I live in Los Angeles with like Katie. My neighbor works in film, TV production. I don't know exactly what he does, but I feel like he's like a production scout or something like that for locations and various things. So he works on ads and films and TV shows and stuff like that. And the only thing that I've heard in terms from music supervisors, like animation is the only thing that's like really still going. You know, a lot of the animators are working from home, in which case, like still having happy songs can work, you know, in cartoons in different scenarios, you know.
Okay. Because when I was the last conference I was at with Kathy,
Mm-hmm.
there was a music supervisor from Trailer Park, I think it was called, and he really liked the song. He thought it was neat. And well, see, now the situation has changed, so I don't know whether to send it to him and then it just sits there, or I guess that was it, or just wait. But I guess if it's destined for a cartoon, then maybe, who knows, you know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So I had another question unrelated to any of this stuff, unless you had a closing thought on that.
Yeah.
Well, I just had a follow up on that. I would see if Trailer Park is working on anything right now, or if they're still in a hiatus. And I mean, you could, you know, email it, but what might be nice is, hey, how are you doing in the pandemic? You know what I mean? Like, how, you know, is life? And, you know,
or pitch it to music supervisors in countries where they have it under control.
Right.
Yeah, actually, that's not a bad idea.
Really, you know.
To be honest, that's not a bad idea at all, especially. And so I just wanted to say also on the happy song thing, I think we're also getting to a point where it's just like, it's hard to even post something positive because then like on Facebook, because people are going to cut you down for it. Like it better be extremely neutral, you know, or you're going to get it. So I've been listening to like what like the top 40 songs are, and they're also kind of like on Spotify, and they're also really clever. But some of the ones that are happy are still like not having anything to do with this. Like it could be about the person that you live with, or the, you know what I mean, your best friend that you've known for forever, or something like that. It doesn't have to necessarily refer to being at the beach together with a million people, you know. It's still a little ambiguous enough. So if your lyrics are happy but ambiguous, I think that's still fine.
Yeah.
Okay, there's references to just partying in every possible situation, not every possible situation, but yeah, so that's probably not. So well, the other question, I posted this in the group, and I don't use a lot of effects because but I know this has been brought up in the class before about Melodyne and pitch correction and all that. And I see that this Nectar 3 is on sale from $249 to $99.
Right.
And it's got the Melodyne and I don't know, a whole bunch of other stuff, which I'm not quite sure I'll use. But the Melodyne Essential, I think it's I forget what it's called. Melodyne 5. Mm-hmm. So that would be enough for my purposes, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Is that the question?
That was the question. Like Melodyne, to buy Melodyne by itself or get this package for 99.
I th-
Are these sort of things useful at some point in the future, or just wait till it goes on sale again when I know I'm going to use half this stuff? I guess you would have to know what's in the package, I guess. But
yeah, I have Nectar. I don't
yeah,
think I've got Nectar 3, because I didn't know that Melodyne was integrated into that, and I don't even know how they're integrating that in. So I don't know, like, it sounds like when I clicked on your link and I saw it, it said Melodyne Essential. So it sounds like the full like Melodyne Essential. It's not like some kind of like weaved in version into Nectar. But again, I haven't seen it. But I mean, it sounds like for $99 you get like Melodyne Essential and like 4 other things built into Nectar. So that sounds like a pretty good deal. But I'm always I'm kind of 2 minds with this. I say, like, first, really only buy the things that you are going to solve a problem for you or make
right.
things easier. And if you don't have that problem, don't worry about it right now. Unless it's just an insane deal and you just know that it's a tool you'll eventually want to learn down the road and you just want to take advantage of it now and you've got the money.
Probably the pitch correction would be one thing that would be nice
Yeah.
to have. And I don't think by itself you can get it for 99, or maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the Melodyne Essential might be $99. So the fact that you can get Nectar, with all its extra stuff, and it's almost like you're getting Nectar for free if you buy Melodyne Essential, kind of. Yeah.
Okay, just a question about that.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
All
the
right.
bigger question was the first one I asked.
Yeah. No, I've definitely got songs that are going to be sitting on the shelf for a little while, and I'm just moving forward. I'm just writing new stuff that I think might have a longer.
Oh, just a little addition to what you said earlier about being reluctant to use horns.
Mm-hmm.
I used some horns actually on this summer song.
Oh, nice.
And I mean, I really like it a lot. And the reaction of people, I not even know it's for a commercial. They say, oh, this is really cool. I like this song. And people who are younger, it has kind of a vintage feel to it, like this 70s horn stuff.
Nice.
And they said, this isn't normally what I listen to, but this is really cool. So I thought getting all these positive reactions. However, when I went to get it processed in the studio, and I hate to keep bringing him up, but Dave Hill was doing the engineering, and he said, you're not a horn player, are you? And I says, no. He says, I can tell. He says, it's on these horns. You couldn't. I forget the term he used, but it's a term a horn player would know.
Oh.
He said it's oh hell, I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But he says the way that you're utilizing these wouldn't be how a horn player would utilize.
Oh.
But I'm not trying to duplicate an actual brass ensemble. I'm going for the oral color.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
But anyway,
Like
so
the
that
guy-
made me think about it, so.
Like the guy told me one time, he said, what'd you do with the money, Kenneth? And I said, what did you mean? And he says, the money your mother gave you to take drum lessons.
I see.
Oh,
I see. Okay, great.
Caroline, did you have a question? Did I see a hand? Oh, and I can't hear you.
Okay.
Oh, there
Hey,
you
everybody.
Hi.
It's great to see y'all. I'm glad to be here. I just have a comment about what I've learned in the past couple of weeks from some sessions with some music supervisors and a group actually located in Mexico. They are still filming, and they actually had submitted some briefs, and what they were asking for was specific to the films, 2 different films.
Right.
But I really would like to encourage John and anybody else, go ahead and submit. I mean, you're not going to hear from these people right away anyway, unless you have, I mean, Josh, you've been doing this so long, I'm sure you have a direct connection. and a proven history of great songs. But anybody that's just trying to get their music to supervisors, I say go ahead and submit a happy, inspirational song. I mean, I've seen 2 pitches for that, and that was actually the pitch that I got, was a happy, inspirational. In this case, they wanted instrumental. And the song was called Happiness Is, which y'all all know because y'all all helped me get it to a good place. But I really, just based on what I've heard in the past couple of weeks at Sync Cafe, which is Sync Summit, which is Mark Freezer, I think.
Right.
I say maybe go for it. I know that coming out of COVID and coming out of riots and all these things, people want happy, they want inspirational, they want something that's going to take them away from all of this. But I don't know, it's just a hunch. So,
Yeah.
That reminded me of something someone just forwarded an article to me. I've forgotten all about that. That was yesterday when I told them about this dilemma I had. And it dealt with at the hospitals where the staff is working with COVID patients and they're being overworked. The hospital pipes in happy songs, inspirational and hopeful things.
yes.
It helps them get through the day.
Yes, exactly. So I say go for it. That's my 2 cents, and I don't really know anything.
No, I think it's great. I think it's just a fine line. I think what Katie and I might have been talking about are those specific songs, like a lot of tourism commercials. I know there was a bunch for like San Diego that would pop up for me. They would literally be like talking about going down to the beach and like playing on the sand, and like they would have all these like kind of like visual summer fun things. And I just couldn't see immediately like any time where those types of lyrics would be applicable. But you know, I don't think Caroline's wrong. Like, you know, I've definitely pitched things for situations that didn't exist, and then like months later they came back and were like, hey, we remembered that album that you pitched us, and you know, and then they came back for it. So yeah, definitely. I'm just not making those a priority right now, and I've got like a bunch of songs, you know, on that I could be working, and I'm just like being more aware of which ones I'm investing my time in right now. That's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, I'll run it past you sometime. Still tweaking it.
Yeah.
Actually, I played it for you a while back, and you weren't quite sure what it needed, but you felt it needed something, and so I've been trying to find that something where it
that
just
sounds like,
yes,
that sounds like my feedback.
But on the other hand, if this guy liked it, I mean, I should just send it out anyway. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, I'm just trying to increase my odds of that other people will like it in the whole filtering process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
It's my process. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for everybody's feedback.
Yeah. Yeah. Paul. Yeah, you got something? Hold on.
Hi everybody. There was a question in the chat saying, "What MIDI keyboard do you use with Contact?"
Right. So I've got a like a weighted. I don't know. You can kind of see it right there. Oh, right there. A weighted 88 key kind of full thing for like anytime I've got, you know, my real piano player friends over. But mainly, well, I'm gonna unplug this. Mainly, I've got this guy that I keep right here, and it's like an old M-Audio Axiom 25. I don't think they make these anymore. I think now they're called like Oxygen or something like that. M-Audio Oxygen. Yeah, and it's just like a small little guy, but I like that it's got these drum pads, because sometimes I'll use those. They're easier to play like sampled beats on instead of like trying to like play them on the actual piano keys. Yeah. And then I don't really like use all the features that are, you know, it looks like it's got a lot of buttons on there. Really all I use are like these drum pads. I use the keys for playing, and then it's got to transpose. You can transpose an octave up or octave down, and I just use that all the time if I need to play with what octaves I'm experimenting in. And then it's got the little modulation stuff, because sometimes they'll build in like they'll have their standard patch, and then they'll have like some kind of like filter built into like the modulation wheel, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's kind of.
Josh, do you keep that? Where do you keep that on your? I'm just wondering what your kind of setup is at home, or in your studio there.
Yeah, so this is my desk that you can't see right here, and like I've got my keyboard right there, and then like literally like just right here, so that anytime I've got it plugged in and I can just like hit my keys and just test things out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Josh, I have one more question for you that occurred to me.
Absolutely.
On that summer song I was talking about, I remember one music supervisor saying, he was in, I forget in what context.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's different, music supervisors don't all have a unified opinion on things.
Right.
But he maintained that if you're going to pitch something, he said if you have, instead of using software horns,
Mm-hmm.
if you're able to incorporate a real horn group or section,
Yeah.
he said that moves you up to another level, because they don't have to do that themselves. And what's your thought on your experience on that? I mean, have you ever hired a real horn section for some of the stuff you've done?
I'm glad that you're asking, John, because literally this week, for the first time in my 20-something years, I'm going to be hiring a horn section.
Oh, wow.
Because of that. And I'm super nervous about it, because I want it to sound like like an old Motown or Stax Records kind of vibe. But like I was saying, like I think Ernest was saying it's about like what did you say, Ernest? You said something about like the arrangement, or like why can I not think of the horn, the chord,
the voices.
Voicing. Thank you, Ernest. The chord voicing and stuff like that, and like that's just out of my my expertise. So I'm really like trying to be careful about who I hire and making sure that I'm communicating with them and that we're on the same page. So yes, I've used horns on other songs of mine, but I've been very careful and spent a lot of hours going through and tweaking when I use virtual instrument horns, making sure that like they sound like exactly what I was talking about with the drums, that they don't sound like every single time I hit this horn key, it's like just bang, 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 because nobody plays like that. Mm-hmm. There's variation, and so like I went through and like really automated a bunch of stuff and used different horns. Like I would use a trumpet from one virtual instrument maker, and then the saxophone from another, and a trombone from another, so it sounds like three different. Anything that I could do to introduce variation and not make it sound like it's all the same thing. And the other thing that I do is a lot of times I don't play my chords in one performance. I'll do like, here I'm doing now my saxophone performance one note at a time, just like a real saxophone player would, and then I'll do another track of just my trombone, and treat them individually, just like, because they're individuals, like that you'd be doing on a track. And I feel like all those little the more imperfections that you can introduce in a controlled way is like helps me be able to sleep at night and not be miserable about how the horns turned out later.
And that was going to be my plan, is contact the local. There were two plans: contact one of the universities and talk to the horn department.
Yeah.
The other thing is there's a horn group, and they're really popular in the area. And I thought about approaching him and saying, this is my song. Mm-hmm. Would you guys do the parts for this? Or if it needs to be scored, could you do that? And how much would you charge? Then COVID hit, and everybody's staying home. And so that kind of put the skids on that whole plan. And I thought it'd be neat to connect with the local community.
Yeah.
And, make connections.
Yeah.
And so it's just things are a little weird right now, so that put the brakes. So that's, yeah, I'm glad I asked the question.
Yeah.
Well, definitely, if you can get a hold of whoever does the charts for that group, you should do that, because they'll know exactly what to do with horn parts. They'll write it the right way.
Right.
And they might find that part that's missing in that song that Josh was saying. Yeah, I think it needs a little something. They're not sure what it is.
I mean, even if they wrote it out and they didn't want to get together and play the instruments and all of that, even if they just wrote it out for you and you played that in, you have a better shot of it sounding right.
Okay, thanks for that. Yeah, that makes good sense. I already found out who does arranging at one of the colleges, and he's a brass player too, so that would work out.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, neat. Always pays to check in.
Yep, absolutely. Paul, did I see your hand up a second ago? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'm about to do some guitar recording, and I saw Jakir King talking with a studio musician in Nashville, and I just wanted your opinion on this. I think what I'm going to do is run the internal piezo mic that comes out of the acoustic guitar into one of my inputs, and then I have a little tiny condenser mic which can clamp onto the guitar,
right,
and aim that just off the 12th fret, and I shouldn't have any clashing issues with the sound, should I, with that arrangement?
In terms of like phasing?
Yeah, phase issues. I think they'll both go at the same time, because the one is coming from inside the piezo mic. Anybody know anything about that?
I don't know for sure. I would think that it would probably be okay. I would think that it would be okay. I would think it would be like just fractions of a second difference between like the pickup versus the mic.
Okay.
You know, if there was any difference, I think the mic might be a little bit slower.
Okay.
But I think you should be fine.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear that. Yeah. Yeah, Jakir King, he's got like a bunch of really cool, I like his advice. He's a really great mixer and producer. Yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, like,
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Jakir King from, I think he did a lot of the Kings of Leon albums, which sound great. They're fantastic. And he was also, I recently found out that he was like an understudy of Eric Valentine, who's also like a major A-list producer. So they kind of came up together. Yeah. Oh, Don was asking about reviewing one more song. I think we might be out of time for today, Don, but if you want to post it in the Facebook group, or if you're not in a rush, we could do it next week if you want another, if you want to do it during office hours. But yeah, I don't want to go too much longer for everybody. But if there's any final questions before we hop off, are we good? I'm loving these chats though. Yeah.
Not a question, but just sort of an update. So I pitched my my orchestral piece to a local orchestra because I happened to be walking through the room and I heard them discussing the idea of doing a heroes concert in the future, at which point it essentially aimed at people that had worked on, as doctors and frontline people through all this. And so I pitched them and I sent them the recording and I sent them the full score and everything. And they said, wow, this is a really cool piece. And yeah, well, we're going to keep it in our back pocket and, maybe we'll do this. So yeah, that was nice.
That's awesome. That's very cool. I loved that. I mean, I loved your score that you wrote. I think it's super cool, and I think it'd be awesome to hear it performed by a real orchestra.
Oh yeah.
That would be awesome. I also wanted to, on kind of related to that kind of genre. I know Caroline pitched for that Westworld contest, right? Did you happen to hear the winner? Yeah. For anybody that has time, go look up what it was a Spitfire Strings contest, and the contest was to like score a scene for the Westworld HBO show, and I was really interested to hear the winner of that. The reason I'm bringing it up is that it starts out kind of like a normal, string orchestral score scene, and then it totally takes like a left turn, and yeah, it does something completely unexpected, and I just think it's interesting that was the winner. I don't think that it would have like ever been necessarily the right choice for the show, but the fact that the judges chose that one as the winner, it was a very brave, quote unquote brave decision for that composer to go that direction. Like they completely abandon, for the second scene of the show, they completely abandon strings and the typical orchestral soundscape, and they go to like 8-bit video game sounds, which is like really weird. But it kind of fits if you know the story, like if you know that scene of that show. The character in that show is like on this, like, it's set in the future, and he's on this drug that like makes him think that he's in different genres of movies, and so the drug is complete. Every like 15 minutes he like switches to genres. So like one set is like he's like in an old like black and white movie, and he thinks everything that he's experiencing is in that, and then he goes to this like other genre type thing. Anyway, so the composer recognized that and then switched the music to like completely fit that new trip that the character is fitting or experiencing. Yeah, chiptune video game. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, in terms of like taking risks with your music, I think it's like it's interesting. You guys should go check it out and be like, kind of have your mind blown too, because it was a brave decision. Yeah. Okay. All right. If we don't have anything else, then I will end it here and see you guys next week. Thank you guys. Bye.